What's going on, Broodwar brothers? Welcome back to another daily dose of Broodwar. And for you today, we've got a wee little series on the ladder. It's gonna be ZeloT here in the top right hand corner. Fantasy in the bottom right. Yes, we've got a few games from 2023 that have come to my attention recently. I've been going through some of the bigger names, but ZeloT is a favorite of the channel. And he has several games. I'm not going to say how many, but he has quite a few. Versus old Fantasy here. And he is an incredibly aggressive Zerg player. Should be able to give Fantasy a run for his money in some of these games. I believe these were played in January and February of 2023. So shortly after Fantasy came back to Broodwar, was still just putting things together, maybe not at the pinnacle, the height that we see him in some of these more recent series, like the series versus Bisu, series versus Snow, those type of things, but he still is, of course, that guy. He is that guy. That guy is Fantasy, the terrorist himself. And we've been seeing a lot of Fantasy going for mech play in TVZ. I'm curious to see if he's going to go for a mech transition in these games as well. If any of these games are going to have a mech transition, I would love to see it. It's not something that's been popular recently, but I still think it is very powerful. Vultures, laying mines all over the map, tanks, holding positions. We are on butter here today. So this is a 2-player map with those high ground expansions on the right hand side, a single low ground expansion here on the center right here. I will open up the map for you guys so we can take a look. There's the high ground, the middle ground. We barely ever see this base getting taken. The high ground here on the right hand side, we've got the bases all along the left as well, and of course this boomerang shaped area of high ground on the left hand side is very strong. If you can get some tanks around this area, it's super hard to push up any of these ramps to get up onto that high ground area. So with all that taken into consideration, let's take a look at the builds here. We've got a wall in from Fantasy, SCV in the main base of ZeloT. Gonna be taking a look at everything that's going on in here. Good micro here, keeping this SCV alive and healthy, at least for now. And it's looking like a 2-hatch Muta build out of ZeloT, but you never know what it could possibly be. As long as you keep this SCV alive, though, that's gonna give you some good information. I would love to see Fantasy actually click another SCV onto this mineral patch, because you just never know. Oh yeah, here we go. Hydra's Den is on the way here. It's a little bit late because you can see the layer is already finished. You'd love to have that Hydra's Den finish at the same time as the layer. They can immediately start the lurker upgrade, but this is going to be a surprise for Fantasy, and I hope that he's going to build 2 comsats here, because a lot of times these Terran players will try to build just a single comsat in order to confirm the build and try to, you know, forego that secondary comsat just to pump out a few extra SCVs, and that could be deadly in a situation like this. We've got lurkers already coming here. We've got some Hydras about to pop out. Lurker upgrade is about halfway done. I don't see a comsat yet. There's the first comsat and the second comsat. Okay, good stuff here from Fantasy. Gonna start his engineering bay at 448. Just tiny bit early there. He doesn't need turrets this game, maybe just 1 or 2 at the front here, but he will have that eBay for the upgrades and for those turrets a little bit later on. Now we've got Hydras coming across the map. Here's the first scan. Okay, and the second scan. Oh, did he scan the main first? Let's wait for a second, see if he scanned the main first. I wasn't able to tell there. I'm not sure which one was first. So that's a little bit important here because we have 2 bunkers coming up, but we don't have any scans. Still gonna have to wait a full 30 more seconds here for a scan to become available. He needs a turret up in the front. He's got one on the way. Lurkers are popping up here, and it looks like Fantasy's gonna be okay. He's gonna be able to have a turret up here and 2 bunkers that should be able to hold everything off, but lurkers here at the front can kill these 2 supply depots, and that is a very big pain in the butt. I think that is what's going to happen here. Range is about to finish up, and he's a little bit out of range of the... Oh, this bunker's getting hit, actually. That's a little bit bad. He needs to repair that. Looks like he will do so. A 3rd bunker is coming up here as well. Time to lift up this barracks and kind of back off for now. Supply depot on the way. Oh, God, that's bad. Why did he not build a supply depot until this point? I feel like Fantasy should have known that those 2 supply depots were going to go down and started those a little bit earlier, but he doesn't. Instead, favoring the factory. I can definitely understand it, but he can't produce anything right now. Literally nothing can be produced. Bunch of lurkers are being morphed still. No other tech coming out of ZeloT, and he's just going to go for this, I think. He's morphing another round of lurkers behind this. He's going to try and break this 3 bunker position. That's quite a strong spot. And Fantasy is ready as well to quickly hit the jets, dump the stim, and try to jump back into the bunker here before the lurkers connect. And I think he should be able to do so. Lining up, this is a specialty of ZeloT with Hydralis against Protoss. He lines everything up perfectly and then runs in all at the same time. Here we go. Gonna burrow right up here in the front. Let's see how it goes. Kills immediately that turret. Turret has gone down, but the scan goes down right on after. But all the bunkers have been broken here. That was crazy good from ZeloT. The only one who breaks quite like that, honestly, but I think it's going to have to catch on in the future, stacking everything up so nicely and then going for the kill. As the links come in, he pulls the lurkers forward. Really nice pullback there from Fantasy, just hopping out of the bunker and running with his Marines at the last possible moment, keeping the majority of those Marines alive. He will have to lift here, and you may think that this is over, but there is still a chance here for Fantasy. You can lose this base. You can be forced to lift off here and still survive and still come back in this game. We don't have a lot of drones here for ZeloT. We're actually even on the drone count to the overall SCV count, surprisingly. 1 Wraith has popped out. It's going to start to kill some of these Overlords. Overlord kills are going to be massive right now. Some Hydras are coming across the map, but this Overlord is going to die definitely before this these Hydras make it across the map. And this is actually one of the big mistakes that we often see from ZeloT, is that he often sends Overlords across the map, which shouldn't necessarily be there, or are not necessary to be there. Well, maybe losing a couple of Marines here. Some medics do pop out. Quite a few of those Overlords did go down, but I think that we had the Wraith die here. I don't actually see it. So during that little attack there, that little move forward by Fantasy, I guess he lost control of the Wraith. That would have been nice if he would have sent it up to the top left. There's a ton of Overlords over there to pick off, but he loses that. He's not building another Wraith, instead going for a starport. Will he be getting into... Okay, it's going to be a science vessel. Makes sense. You do want to be able to move out eventually. And relying totally on scans is not going to be your best bet. Over on the other side of the map, we've got the Defiler Mound already finished up here. Defiler Consume is on the way. Some lurkers sitting out here in the front are going to be picked off. It looks like a Marine Medic run by. This is a great move from Fantasy. I love this. This is so smart. As a Zerg player, I absolutely hate this, but as a player in general, I think this is such a good move. The Marines are going to move all the way around here, and they're just going to stand in the way. Anything that's going to come out of ZeloT is going to be picked off. He could also counterattack into here because we don't have any sunken colonies. So this is a very big problem right now for ZeloT, who's trying to set up an incredibly fragile push right now, where he's going to consume a couple of lings, going to run forward and try to lay down a Dark Swarm and try as much as he can to get these lurkers forward to where they can actually deal damage to this natural. But man, I don't know. Fantasy is just right here. He's ready to fight, and these lurkers are going to be cut off. Lurkers are basically running by here. This is going to make this attack a lot stronger, but his defense at home is going to be incredibly weak. Losing another couple of overlords, similar sort of thing here, where ZeloT just not having the control of his overlords that he needs in these situations. Loses the lurker and the natural. This is going to be bad. A Dark Storm comes up on top of these tanks, and the Marines there pushes all that back, but the counterattack damage is way too much. Oh man, ZeloT, I think he's gonna have to tap out here, losing so many drones in the natural, and GG is called. He cannot push forward any further. A great hold there from Fantasy in game number 1. I don't know if it gets better from here, man. I think that if ZeloT wants to take games off of Fantasy, he's gonna have to do so in the the earlier the better, because Fantasy is only gonna get stronger from here. Maybe going for a different play, maybe for a Guardian play or something like that, might give him a better shot. It just seems like Fantasy really had the number of that play. The only thing I could have maybe said would be better improved from Fantasy is just adding on additional supply depots when those ones were going to go down in his natural. Other than that, perfectly done. The move around with the Marines was excellent. He cuts off the reinforcements, he kills the natural, and takes that game win in game number 1. Let's go on. All right, the first all-in was held by Fantasy successfully. Now ZeloT on to plan B here in game number 2. What will he bring out to try and chop down this incredible, storied Terran player? This man has been around forever, absolutely forever. He's shown us great games in the Kespa era, in the pre-remastered era, and now he's back to deliver us more amazing Starcraft Broodwar. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, bringing you great games of Broodwar from the modern era, as well as some retro casts here and there, sprinkled in, if you will, for your enjoyment every single day, by the way. Did I say that already? Anyway, you get the picture. We're going in here to game number 2. We're going to get a 12 hatch from ZeloT and a similar wall in here on Neo-Sylphid to the last game. Of course, it is a 3-player map, so both players scouting in the wrong direction. Not going to find each other for a little bit, but it's fine. No deviation from the previous game as of yet. Both players playing it out exactly the same. We're going to have a command center coming down here shortly on the side of Fantasy. That was interesting. He only ran his SCV up to here and saw that there was no overlord and immediately turned down to the bottom right side. So take note here, Terran players. This is the scouting pattern on Neo-Sylphid. Right up to here and then down to the bottom right if you don't see an overlord. Makes sense. Just checking to see if that was on the way. And he is going to get an earlier scout here as a result of that. Didn't have to waste time walking all the way up to here or gliding as they do SCVs. Trying to force drones off of this mineral patch. And if you haven't seen this before, this is just a way of getting the drones to stop mining off this patch. This patch is absolutely the best patch on this mineral line here. If you can get a drone to mine from this patch, look at this one right here. He's going to boost. So look at how quickly he turns around there and how much faster he's mining than some of these others. This one, it was about the same time last return. And now this time he's like way ahead of this other drone. So if you can mine here and prevent this drone from mining, like right as the drone's coming back, the SCV starts mining here, then this drone will convert to a different mining patch. And in that way, you can force the drone off of that patch and just kind of delay the mining a little bit. Anyway, it's a bit of a deep subject. If you're not playing Broodwar consistently, if you're not trying to ladder up at a higher level, you probably never need to worry about that. But I just thought I'd mention now the SCV has been driven out. And we've got the tech here for ZeloT. The Spire is on the way, so I'm happy to see that a Spire is coming up. Fantasy moving out with the Lynx. He is looking to kill this. We've seen Fantasy do this a lot in TVZ, is send out Marines to try and pick off a couple of Lings that are coming across the map. Sometimes it does backfire. We've seen it in the past where, for example, against Action, he had multiple games where he ended up losing a bunch of those Marines because of that, and actually lost some games. So you gotta be careful, but he does seem very fond of that play. This is the Valkyrie build. Okay, we've seen this from Fantasy a lot, actually. Fantasy versus Soma, exact same build on this exact same position here in the center left of Neo Sylphid, and he is hitting it exactly the same way with the starport here on the way. We're gonna see Valkyries very, very soon. And how will ZeloT handle this? He's gonna come across the map with those 6 mutas, expecting to deal quite a bit of damage. But there's gonna be a Valkyrie out in moments time here. It's already that starport nearly complete. We don't have an armory just yet, but it should be started here any moment as that starport finishes up. It takes about the same amount of time to make the add-on as it does to make the armory. So where's that armory? We don't see it just yet. Maybe it's in the natural. Okay, there it is. So in the natural here. Oh, we lost a Marine out in the front. Is that a medic there? I think a medic might have died. That's so funny. That actually exact same thing happened against Soma. Was a medic kind of walked out and died right there. That is that was pretty funny. Pretty ridiculous, actually. Okay, now there's 2 medics here, so I don't think that he lost a medic. Maybe that was a Ling that died. And some a Marine got stuck out here. Another Marine over here. It's being a little bit annoying, getting out into a place where he shouldn't actually be. We've got ZeloT coming in here, killing off a couple of Marines. He hasn't, I don't think, seen the tech just yet. He might have caught the corner of this control tower, but I'm not sure. He's going after this barracks right now as he's waiting for more mutas to arrive. Just trying to, you know, bounce some glaives, deal some little damage here, not commit too much, at least until these muta numbers start to increase. Carapace is on the way. Here's the first Valkyrie. That Valkyrie is going to get 2 volleys, but he's got to back off now. Nice job backing away there. Keeping that Valkyrie alive is super, super important. And he got those 2 volleys, so that went really, really well for Fantasy. And now he's going to have a second Valkyrie popping out here shortly. The ship weapons is on the way. It is behind the Carapace, but that's going to even itself out. The Carapace taking away a damage, the attack upgrade adding a damage. So it's going to be like neither of those upgrades ever happened once they are both finished. So more mutas coming up here, still chipping away at this barracks, dealing quite a bit of damage to that, but he's got to be very careful. The Valkyrie here, it can get a lot of splash damage on this, and a second Valkyrie is going to pop out very, very soon. Great patrol micro here from Fantasy to start things off. We've got a couple of Scourge in there, so he does have to be super, super careful with that. Oh, nice job keeping that alive. Once again, the Scourge not able to connect, but mutas are coming in here and getting quite a bit of damage on some of these Marines and medics. He picks off the medics, and now only Marines are left. Okay, 1 medic here, but it's got no energy, so kind of a useless unit right now. No SCV damage has been done so far, though. Just a little bit of chip damage on this barracks, and let's see what is in the works here for ZeloT as he continues to harass. He's got a Hydralisk down on the way. I think this is going to be a Guardian build, my friends. Going for that early Carapace is a dead giveaway. Picking off this Scourge once again, not able to get those to connect. A third Valkyrie is about to pop out, and more damage here going down on this. Nice, really, really nice control here from Fantasy to keep on getting that patrol micro, but ZeloT is just pulling back the weakened mutas over and over again and getting them prepared for a later game tech switch, which is going to be, of course, those guardians. Unfortunately, once again, making this mistake, sending way too many overlords across the map. He's gonna lose like 5 overlords here. No, 4 overlords over near the Terran natural, and that can be deadly in these situations where things are very, very close. Coming around the back, he's gonna try and get one of these Valkyries. Oh, he gets one. One Valkyrie gets picked off, but the mutas are gonna go down in large number now. Forced back once again. So many of these have been killed. A lot of them are on low HP. It doesn't matter though, once the Greater Spire is done, he can turn those into Guardians. More Overlords coming across the map here. Are you kidding me? He cannot be losing more Overlords right now. He needs to be producing. He's got to be making some Guardians here, and making some Hydras to support them as well is of the utmost importance. Big group of Medic and Marine. He's not actually upgrading Medic and Marine though, so that leads me to believe that he's actually going to go for a mech transition once again, but he's got to survive this first. Very important that he survives this. Yeah, upgrade for vehicle weapons is on the way. We're gonna have a ton of Guardians popping out here soon. Cannot be losing these Valkyries. He loses one of them. He's gonna pick off the remainder of these mutas, it looks like. But every Valkyrie that he kills is a big win right now for ZeloT. ZeloT has those Guardians morphing, I believe. There they are. Guardians morphing here on the right-hand side. A bunch of Hydras popping out. Tank push is on the way, but it's not going to be very strong if he runs into Guardians here. Guardian Hydra is very, very strong against the tank push. Can deal with a lot of the Hydras, but the Guardians just rip everything else apart, and the Valkyries won't be able to connect with these Guardians because we've got Scourge in the air, we've got Hydras on the ground to defend. Here comes those Guardians now. Can he actually pick off any of these with his Valkyries? It doesn't look like it. Scourge are ready and waiting. Oh, he's right-clicking on the tanks actually with the Guardians. Guardians taking a lot of damage initially, and man, Marines coming from the left-hand side. Hydras just explode, and Fantasy takes a quick win there. He was preparing for a mech transition, and he still managed to dump all over ZeloT here in game number 2. Really impressive stuff, guys. Take notes if you're a Terran player and you're struggling with this build, with the Guardian build, and how to beat it. Valkyrie play, as shown by Fantasy, is proving to be incredibly good at shutting that down. And oh man, I wish we could have seen this mech transition. Would have been a lot of fun, but ZeloT taps out and Fantasy takes game number 2. What else does ZeloT have in his bag of tricks? We've seen the Lurker build, we've seen the Guardian build, but I don't think there's much else that ZeloT is really good at. I'm not sure what else he can bring out in Zerg versus Terran. Maybe some drop play, but he's not very well known for his standard Zerg versus Terran. Maybe a Muta all-in, that could be the play here, but we are on Polypoid now, or no. Is this Polypoid? No, this is Vermeer. So we're on Vermeer and we're in cross maps here. That's gonna be a little tough. A little bit tough indeed. Now, both players are on barcode accounts, so I think that favors ZeloT, because you know, Fantasy can't have learned from those previous 2 games how to deal with ZeloT. Instead, he's just going to be playing blind here. He'll have to figure out what the Zerg player is doing and try to counteract it the best that he can. ZeloT, of course, he's just playing against a random Terran player. Doesn't really matter. He's going to do his build the way that he wants to do it, no matter what anyway. So we'll just have to see how he plays this one out. Of course, it can change. Things can be a little different if, for example, Fantasy goes for a mech play here. That's going to kind of throw a wrench into things. That'll force, you know, Hydralist play. That'll force maybe Queens, or maybe like, you know, late game Ultralist transition. it really depends on how ZeloT wants to play that out, but I don't think we're going to see a mech play. I think we're going to see another Marine medic play, possibly a mech transition later on. But this is, again, cross-map positions on Vermeer. I don't know how long this game is going to go, but it's primed. It's primed for the latest of late game. We'll just have to wait and see a drone coming across the map here. This was a 12 hatch from... What was it? Yeah, it was a 12 hatch from ZeloT. So his lings are just about to pop out. We lost the first drone. The scouting drone goes down. Unfortunate. Kind of happens from time to time. To me as well on the ladder. If you're not 100% paying attention to that drone and 3 Marines are waiting at the natural, you can easily lose that. And a Overlord here actually heading down towards this. Is Fantasy gonna find this Overlord? That would be crazy. These 3 Marines are out on the map. They're looking for that Overlord. He sees that there are only 2 lings chasing his SCV. Fantasy looking for that, but I just think he's just barely gonna miss it here. He came up to check in this top right-hand corner. His game sense was just slightly off. But if he had moved northward just a tiny bit here, he would have found this. He's looking for the... There's no way the Overlord could be here already, Fantasy. Okay, you're way off on that. But the Overlord is in a precarious position. And now the Marines are going to move out, try to kill off this Ling once again, and give his SCV free reign to move. Oh, great. Great pullback there from ZeloT, keeping an eye on that Ling and managing to keep that alive. That is not easy to do, because you just never know when the Marines are suddenly going to appear and try to pick that off. So good kudos to ZeloT for keeping that alive. His traditional sunken colony here at the front. He always goes for this sunken colony. It's kind of a staple of ZeloT's play, and he's taking one of the bases that you do not expect the Zerg player to take. This base, to me, is just a complete hidden base. You're never going to look here as the Terran player to try and find where that third base is. The SCV is going to be sent around the map. He's going to check every base, with this one being the absolute last. So maybe ZeloT can get away with something sneaky here. Maybe he could put a bit of sneaky tack over here. Maybe he can just go for a Muta all-in with a quicker rally from this position. I don't know. I'm not sure what the plan is here just yet, but we'll have to just hold on for now and trust in ZeloT to bring us some really crazy all-in. Whatever it's going to be, it's going to be something mad, out of the hat play from ZeloT to try and win this as quickly as possible. Flyer Carapace on the way. It's looking like another Guardian build here, boys. Maybe another Guardian build. I do like this build myself personally. I feel like it's a great build to pull out. Definitely, if you're a Zerg player, you should certainly learn how to do it. Natural being scanned here. Doesn't really see too much for Fantasy to catch this SCV moving out on the map. You definitely want to cut that off. Don't allow that to start, checking things out, because eventually he will find that base, and you want to keep that base hidden for as long as possible. Marines moving out on the map just a little bit, just a tad here. They do not have range yet, nor that +1. So this is a little bit of a moment here where we could see some of these Marines go down. And seeing the +1 in the tab, I believe this is not going to be a mech transition here from Fantasy. From what we've seen in the past, he likes to go mech off of a Valkyrie play, and he doesn't get any upgrades for the Marines whenever he does that transition. So it's looking like an SK Terran. It's looking like a more normal game here from Fantasy. He's going to lose a couple of Marines. It's fine. They are not at their peak power yet, but they do have that range now, and +1 just finished up. So factory on the way here for Rax play from Fantasy. I find this so difficult to deal with personally. Fighting against 4 Rax play is some of the hardest stuff, because they just have a ton of Marines and their factory is not that late. It's really a much better play, in my opinion, than the old typical 5 Rax that was so popular in the Kespa era. that old SK Terran style where you get 5 racks, you just have huge amounts of Marines. But of course, your factory units are delayed, your science vessels are delayed. I feel like it's a healthy medium, and it seems to work well for a lot of these players. Losing a medic there, a little bit unfortunate. He's already used quite a bit of stim energy, or stim here, and the medic energy reflects that. Very, very low on that energy on all of these medics. So he's got to be a bit careful here, not to stim too much, and not to take too many fights with these mutas here right now. Because, yeah, these are out of energy. There's no energy left on these medics. And the mutas will eventually overwhelm this if he continues to produce. He is just continuing to produce these. Hive is on the way here. And we should have a Hydralisk Den coming up as well. I don't see one just yet. Trying to get some drones into this position. Focusing on battling down these Marines right now. Picking off quite a few of those. These medics, again, have no energy. Every time these get a little bit injured, it's going to be worse and worse for Fantasy. Look at how low all of these Marines are. They're getting picked off rapidly here by the Mutalisk Micro from ZeloT here. And I don't think he knows about this base just yet. I really don't. Fantasy, he's moving over to the left-hand side, but I think that he's actually completely unaware of this position. I heard some scans going out around the map, but you know, those probably down here at the bottom left. Looks like a scan came down here. Maybe scanning, you know, top center left would be a good scan as well, but he's not going to find this until probably the near end of this game, unless he sends a Marine out over here. He probably won't end up scanning that location. Greater Spire is coming up. I'm not sure that this has been identified just yet by Fantasy. If he did know about it, he'd probably be making wraiths right now instead of science vessels, because those are very powerful against the transition here. Oh, here comes the mutas. Overwhelming forces here. After continuously picking at this Marine medic group, finally going to jump on top of that. And this is actually fantastic right now for ZeloT. He scans, I think he sees this. Wait, let's see. No, he scans the main base. He sees the Greater Spires incoming. This is the perfect situation right now as a Zerg player. If you're sitting here right now, you're feeling so good, because you know you can keep the Marines back with just a small group of muta, or actually this is 11 muta, so not exactly a small group. He's got so many mutas right here. He's gonna morph them all into Guardians, and he can rally all of his hatchers up here and just constantly produce Hydras. So just pure Hydra popping out at this point. It's all gonna be rallied up here to the front, and he's gonna hit this in a very, very quick timing. A lot of Marines popping out right now. We should see some bunkers coming up if actually Fantasy wants to hold this. He's got science vessels popping now. 2 more are on the way, but he's got nothing in terms of true anti-air, like some sort of Wraith or Valkyrie or anything. He's just going to be throwing down a couple of Irradiates and then trying to fight with Marines. Here we go. Irradiate on those mutas there on the left-hand side. 1 Irradiate on one of these Guardians, but I think this is too much to handle. Just pushing through with these Guardians. Hydra's coming up to help defend the mutas here on the bottom side. Not many of them, but they are helping out. More Guardians are going to be morphed here right outside the main base, and these turrets are going to start to get picked off. Great micro here from ZeloT, making sure that those don't take too much turret damage. Does need to back off though as the Marines push forward. He's running out and trying to get on top of these Marines. Picking off a few of them, losing the last few mutas, but all of these are going to be made into Guardians, and fresh Guardians pop out. I think that Fantasy is going to lose his natural base here in a few moments. We've got another couple of Irradiates going to come down here shortly, but there's so few Marines out on the field, and actually the Guardians can now hit Marines that are popping out. Running forward with the Marines here. It's going to drop a couple of Irradiates. Some Wraiths pop out as well, but good target fire from the Hydras, picking them off. He's going to pick off a few more Guardians. Those Guardians are so low. He gets that last Guardian. There's 3 more left, though. and more rallies are coming forward here. ZeloT's heart is pumping right now. He knows he's about to take this player out. It's so very close right now. More irradiates come down. He's very low on the Guardian count. He has no more mutas to follow this up. So if Fantasy can somehow hold on right now, he could still win this. A lot of SCVs have gone down, however, and Marines are not able to get down this ramp. The medics are making things hard for him. Another couple of vessels are going to pop out soon. We've got another couple of irradiates coming very soon here. He needs to pick up this command center and bail. This command center cannot fall right now. He needs to keep this alive. Hydralisks are going to go to work on that, and it looks like he is going to end up losing it. Guardian's just barely out of range for the Marines to hit them from the high ground here, and with that, Lurkers are going to morph right in the face of Fantasy. He's going to take the bottom of this ramp. I love the Lurker follow-up here from ZeloT. You know, he clears this base, and then he's going to make like a concave of Lurkers at the bottom and take another base and just ensure the victory from here. No reason to push up into the main and run the risk of losing to Fantasy, who can break through and actually get his natural back. Just make it so it's impossible to get your natural. He's leapfrogging right now. Lurkers forward here up this ramp slowly. There's only 4 left now, but with the Guardians in support, with the Hydras in support, you can't really break this position. He's going to come forward with a couple of science vessels looking for a good spot to irradiate. Marine's gonna make a last stand here, running forward. So many dead bodies on the high ground here. Bunch of Guardians go down. A couple of Lurkers fall as well. But this is getting worse and worse for our man Fantasy. He's gonna lose this Stargate on the high ground. Can only produce one singular science vessel at a time at this point. Here comes another Lurker egg on the way, but more Lurkers are going to come up. That's way too many Hydras sitting at the bottom of the ramp on a in a concave, just firing up at all of these Marines, not allowing them to come down the ramp. Another Lurker making its way over here as well. Not another base being taken by ZeloT right now. He's actually going for double upgrades, so he will have +1/+1 shortly. That's kind of his long game plan here. Rather than an extra base, he's just going to have great upgrades to keep fighting with the Hydras. We've got +2/+1 finished here for the Marines, so he still will be ahead on upgrades, but not by much. Those upgrades going to help out a huge amount with those Lurker spines, and of course the Hydra acid spike or whatever, needle spines. I thought it was acid. It kind of looks like acid, doesn't it? I really feel like it should be named some sort of acid spine or something like that, but it is what it is. Needle spine here. Fantasy waiting until the very last moment. Definitely a Fantasy GG timing here, boys. We've got no minerals left. 100 minerals here, 28 minerals there. And Fantasy is still fighting to stay alive in this game. He's got a good number of Marines on the high ground here, but he's starting to lose some of these science vessels. Devour with 4 kills. I don't know how it got those 4 kills. What did it actually kill 4 times? Seems ridiculous, but Lurker making its way up here. We've got 4 stack of Lurkers at the bottom of this ramp. Tons of Hydras to run forward and try to gun down these science vessels whenever they can. Irradiates can come down on some of these Lurkers, but the stack is making it impossible to break through efficiently. And you can throw down Irradiates on the Hydras all you want, but every time a Hydralisk gets irradiated, you're just going to make it into a Lurker, and that means that it's going to survive. It's going to become a Lurker. It's going to make your army even more powerful. So not able to break down this ramp, not able to really do anything at this point. 34 minerals in the bank, nothing left to mine here. Fantasy still playing this game. Absolute legend. I expect nothing less from this man, and you know he's on a barcode, but you can tell just from the GG timing here that this is absolutely Fantasy from the old days. The same one. The man himself, the legend that is Fantasy. It's almost like you kind of want a dropship right now, actually. I don't know. Getting a dropship would help. Maybe during all of that fighting, but he was just so desperate to hold on even to his high ground here. He's going to get a lot of irradiates down, but the Hydra number, Fantasy, how are you ever going to bust through all these Hydras? I just don't see it happening, my man, especially with the concave at the bottom of the ramp. Just, it really, it stands to reason that you will never be able to get down here. 5 lurkers in this stack. He's gonna wait for this lurker to die and then irradiate once again. You just make this into a lurker or kill it, doesn't matter, either one. And it is going to die there. So many Hydras up here. We've got the +1/+1, +2/+2 is on the way. Gonna lose a science vessel here. There's 2 more upgrades coming up. That's gonna actually put ZeloT ahead of Fantasy in upgrades. Guys, I don't know what else to say here. Fantasy finally gonna try and run down the ramp. GG is called. He taps out, and ZeloT takes a game off of Fantasy, finally managing to put a win on the board here in this series. And guys, we're gonna jump on in to our next game. We'll see if Fantasy can adapt and take down this cheesy monkey here. This man getting one over on a legend ZeloT, finally able to get a kill. On to the next one here. We've got Fantasy in the top right hand corner. Let's change the colors. Okay, we got brown. I don't want that. ZeloT up here in the top left, snagging that last win. Can he tie the series up here though with another upset? I'd love to see it, but he's got to, I think, find another strategy that can work against Fantasy here. And also, he's not on his barcode this time, whereas Fantasy is on his barcode. So I don't know if Fantasy's gonna fall for it, man. He's definitely gonna know that he's playing up against the Cheese Master himself. This stinky player that is our Zerg ZeloT. Going ahead and throwing down his 11 hatch. Thought that was going to be a 12 hatch, but nope. 11 hatch it is. We've got another wall in. No wall in here this time. So maybe it's a pattern. We have seen the wall in always work for Fantasy. Every time he's gone for a wall in, he's won the game. The last game he didn't go for a wall in, he lost that one. So coincidence? I think not. Regardless, here on Polypoid, scouting in the wrong direction. Unfortunate. Scouting in the wrong direction is ZeloT, but it's actually going to work out. Usually scout towards the area where you can actually get the Overlord over the natural, but you know what? I guess it makes sense on this map. You can actually get the Overlord just barely in time to this ledge if you send it immediately upon spawn. Oh, it's just gonna be so close. It feels like ZeloT really has this timed out. I mean, unless there was like a 9 racks, then he would be honestly kind of screwed. He would lose this Overlord immediately, and then he would be in a really tough position. But look at that Overlord phase. He is just struggling so much to get over here, and he does manage to make it. His little eye there. Very strange unit. What are these claws for? Is what I'm wondering. This man does not attack. Very confusing claws there on the front of that Overlord, but you know what? It is what it is. He manages to make it. Absolute legend. He's gonna get full vision here of the natural expansion of Fantasy the remainder of this game, or at least until we see like a Valkyrie pop out or something and kill that. Sunken Colony here, the tradition from ZeloT continuing on, always makes that Sunken Colony at the front. You can tell it's him just by that fact. This man is a creature of habit. And aside from his habit of making that Sunken Colony, he also has a habit of cheesing in just about every game, or at least a Zerg cheese. Not the real crazy cheese, but he's got a habit of going for all-ins pretty much every game. Got a Spire here on the way. That Spire has been spotted by Fantasy. He's kept this SCV alive for a long time, and one of the things that when you actually go for the Sunken Colony as a Zerg player early on, you really can't afford to make the Sunken and make a bunch of Lings and speed. It's just not really a thing. So if you've got the SCV in the main already, that means that you're not going to be able to, you know, pop out a bunch of Lings and actually kill that off. The SCV can remain for a very long time. Oh, look at this hatchery. I think we're going to see a Muta all-in. Yeah, Muta all-in sounds like the plan here. We'll have to see if Carapace comes up or not. If he's going for Carapace, then it's probably going to be a Guardian play once again. But if not Carapace, maybe a attack. If attack goes down on the Spire, he's gonna go for maybe an all-in here. Let's see. We're waiting for it. Where's the upgrade? Where is the upgrade? There it is. Attack. He's going for it. He's gonna go for a Muta all-in. 5 Mutas in production here. What does Fantasy have back at home? An engineering bay coming up. 3 barracks here in the main. Maybe he's gonna go up to a 4th. Just waiting on some turrets we made around these barracks, and of course around the bases here. Turrets on the way. 543. He's cutting it very, very close. He came up with the Marines to challenge, but 2 Sunken Colonies drove him away. Now these Mutas are out on the map. They're looking for some pickoffs on a few of these straggling Marines, but that's actually buying a lot of time here for Fantasy to go ahead and get his turrets up. If ZeloT had actually gone directly to the main, he might have been able to challenge some of these turrets, and there wasn't really any Marines to stop him. So maybe making a little bit of an error there. 6 Mutas are out now, and more will be joining shortly. We should see a 3rd gas popping down here from ZeloT in just a matter of moments. More drones getting to work here at the 3rd. ZeloT, SCV making its way over towards the natural. That's not going to get too far. Okay, he does back away from that position. Range is done. +1 is done as well for these. Just range is done. +1 on the way. +1 for flyer attacks as well. Coming up here shortly for ZeloT. ZeloT just trying to force out as many stims as he can. Let's take a look at the medic energy. It's getting a little bit low. This one, a fresh medic, has quite a bit of energy here, but there have been a lot of stims. And we saw it in the previous game, forcing out the stims over and over again. Once the medic energy is drained, it makes it so much easier to overcome this bio ball in the middle of the map. And that's really how ZeloT managed to win that last game, was by draining that medic energy and eventually coming out to overwhelm this Marine medic force on the map. Here's a Hydra Den. We don't see any upgrades coming out just yet. We don't see a Hive either, so definitely not a Guardian play. A lot of Mutas being rallied forward. A lot of Overlords kind of getting into an awkward position here. He's going to try and take this fight now, just moments before the flyer attacks finishes. So a bit of an anti-timing there for ZeloT, but now with the flyer attacks finishing up here, more Mutas coming into support. He's trying to clean this up. 2 groups of Mutas gonna dive on top of this. He's trying to pick off as many as he can, and it looks like he will finally be able to overwhelm this, and all of the medics are going to go down. Now ZeloT has the initiative. He's gonna come into the natural and the main of Fantasy and really start to rip things apart. Killing off these 2 turrets means he's going to take full domination of the natural, and Fantasy tries to repair, but not able to keep that alive. More Mutas coming up here, and he's going to dive right on this. 3 turrets here next to the barracks, though, leaving a bit of space, though, on the right-hand side. These turrets are out of range. The SCVs are getting whittled down little bit by little bit here. Quite a few Mutas in this stack. Still able to one-shot SCVs. So many SCVs are going down. This is an insane amount of damage right now, and lurkers are coming. We've got Carapace on the way. We've got metabolic boost coming up here. Oh my god, so many workers are going down right now. Fantasy pulls all his workers to the gas just to try and keep some of them alive for a moment. He's got a turret here in the natural, but that's going to go down in 2 short volleys. And yeah, Fantasy is dead in the water here, man. He's lost so much. He's down to 21 workers. He can't mine from his natural, and a bunch of lurkers are about to come up. Scan goes down. He sees what's happening. He sees the double Evo. He sees the Hydralisk Den. And we're going to have near repeat of that last game, except far more in favor of ZeloT this time than it was in the previous game. ZeloT diving in here once again, going to kill off some more workers. We're down to just 14. You can't get by here, Fantasy. This is so annoying. You cannot get by this tiny little spot. The SCVs are blocking. He's going to continue to hit this stuff here in the top right-hand corner. He's drawing all the Marines back. This is really the goal of these metas. Not only to kill Marines and to kill SCVs, but also to draw all the forces back into the main base, because lurkers are running in the front. And there you have it. GG. Lurkers on the ramp finish the job. And ZeloT ties up the series. Very, very well done. But unfortunately, guys, that is all the games I have for you today. These guys never met again on ladder up to this point, unfortunately. So this rivalry will have to continue to brew. It'll have to simmer here for a little bit until they meet each other again on ladder. Just a tied series here for the moment. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe, guys. This has been your daily dose of Broodwar with your boy, Saiyan SC. I'll see you guys tomorrow.